at the same time, I'm like, but however you feel, that's valid. And I just have to pick and choose when I believe which one, because they're kind of contradicting.
It's so difficult having a God complex and a shitty self-esteem. Alrighty, hi there. Welcome back to another episode of New to the City.
How are you?
So tell me. Yeah, I'm good. I know that we've obviously talked a little bit, but how the visa process is a little more frustrating than what was first anticipated. Just as like an update, like we've actually paid a lawyer now. We are in the process of actually applying, but we have to put together so many things that like I have to prove my relationship, which is, I think, inevitable. You would have to do that because I guess people have sham marriages or whatever. But I don't think people really mention how degrading it is to your relationship. Like it almost feels like an insult.
Degrading?
And I know it has to. Degrading.
Interesting.
It's just and I don't know, maybe I'm sensitive. Maybe I'm taking it a bit personally. It's almost like I have to prove that I love my husband when I know myself that I obviously love him. And we have to like reach out to people who we first worked with. Like we've reached out to like our activities manager from when we were first on board to have her write a letter saying that our relationship is legitimate. And like, it's just, for me, it's like, I know that it's the process that you have to go through in order for you to get your visa, but I don't know. Maybe I'm coming at it from the wrong perspective, but it just feels a bit shitty.
I think that I don't know, I kind of feel like, yes, it's annoying, but also it shouldn't be that stressful because it's legitimate. You know what I mean? Like if you were having to struggle to find people who would agree to corroborate your marriage, then that would be very stressful. But you don't. It's like a necessary evil, you know. And maybe it's also because, like, I watched my parents go through it, and, like, I kind of knew what you were about to have to go through. I'm sorry that I didn't warn you.
That I just walked right into the deep end with no warning.
You were like, this is me. What? No?
I was, like, ready just to, like, be like, and I'm applying. You're welcome. And it's not how it goes.
I imagine the, like, visa committee, like Legally Blonde, like they're like analyzing all the applications, and then they're like, somebody sent in a video, and you're like, hey guys, it's me.
Do you think that would help?
Now for some jargon, and then you just say things in like a British accent.
And like a very terrible British accent.
Yeah.
I think that would work. I think that I would skip over all the applications.
I think so. That's what I did.
Won't hurt trying, right? They're going to be like, absolutely not. Banned. So tell me, what's going on with you? Any updates?
I had my last day of work yesterday. So I walked in my house yesterday and I was like, I'm unemployed, which was not the first time I've ever done that. So things are right on schedule. But no, it was weird. It was like really sad to say goodbye. And like I made my like last pizza in the back, which was a Big Mac pizza, which was the best thing I've ever made. I think it was so good. But no, it was like saying goodbye to like the end of an era, kind of, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, it was very bittersweet, I think. And then I went to I had like a little Christmas party, not a party, but like little Christmas mini gathering yesterday. And I wasn't expecting to get any gifts. Like I didn't know that that was like part of it, but some people got me gifts, which made me, first of all, feel really shitty because I didn't get shit for anybody that was there. But then I got like Amazon gift cards because nobody wanted to get me anything that like I would have to then pack. And like they just wanted, I don't know, it was just the sweetest thing. It made me like really emotional. And one of the girls that I worked with also got me like an Amazon gift card as like a going away present. And it just filled my heart right up, made me feel all the feels.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Isn't that nice?
That's really sweet. Also, how considerate of them to be like, we know that you're packing and I'm only going to get you something that you have to put in your wallet.
I know. Just like so perfect and so sweet.
Yeah, because you're rounding on what, a week?
Yep. A week. Like this
And
time next week, I'll be heading to the airport.
How are you feeling about that?
I literally just got like a wave of nausea when I said that.
Cold sweats?
I just feel like there's so much to be done, and like I'm overwhelmed, to be honest. It's like a really big thing, and there's so much that I keep trying to take care of and do, but I can't until I actually get there. And I just keep adding things to the list instead of taking things off the list. And I have a headache.
I know it's tacky, but have you actually like sat down and written out a list of like things that you need to do?
That is like one of my quirks. All I do is write lists about things.
Write lists.
My notes app in my phone is just lists every day. Multiple lists. I have lists for everything. I mean,
See,
we share a Google Doc. You know how many lists I write.
That's very fair. I should have known that walking into that question. Yeah, no, it's one thing that I'm really terrible at is like I will sit down when I need to do something and I will write a list. I will make sure I have everything written, and then like as soon as I start doing things, the list disappears. And I never update it, and I never look back at it. And for some reason, I think me like writing it down in my own head like solidifies what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of like, I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do now. It's something that I need to improve on, but it gets me into trouble sometimes because like I will completely forget something. I give myself all of this like hype of you've written it down, you're all good. Then I come back a week later and I'm like, what was it that I needed to do? It's so bad.
My mom makes fun of me, actually, because when I was a kid, I would make a list of everything I needed to do before I went to school in the morning. Every single day. The exact same list every single day. And the first thing I would write on every list was wake up. And she thought I was so stupid, I guess, because she was like, no, everybody does that. That's the first thing everybody does. But what I liked about it was that I did nothing, and I've already gotten to cross something off my list.
It's like making your bed in the morning.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look how productive I am.
It's the smallest thing.
I did it.
It's the smallest thing, but it gives you just like the burst of like productivity and confidence that you need.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm a list maker.
You were just training when you were younger for this very moment.
Should have trained harder.
Tomorrow is tattoo day for me.
Oh my God, how many is this?
What do you mean, how many is this? As in?
Like, how many new tattoos have you gotten since we started recording? Is it just one?
It'll be 4 after tomorrow.
That's wild to me. What's this one?
I know. So this one is actually one that I've been wanting for a really long time. I just haven't found the artist that I like enough to do it. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get something that was played with like gender identity and basically saying that gender is a myth. And so it's going to be like a handheld mirror, you know, like one of the little handheld mirrors, but like really old vintagey style. Mm-hmm. And within the actual mirror, it's going to be cracked. And with all the different like cracks, it's going to be both a male and a female face, like in the different cracks of the mirror, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That sounds
I
really
wish
cool.
I could explain it just a little bit better, but I'm hoping it turns out really well. I haven't seen the actual sketch because you always see it when you show up to the shop. You don't actually see it because if an artist sends it to you, you can absolutely steal it, and there's issues with that.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a really big issue, actually. But yeah, so I'm going tomorrow, and I am so very excited.
How big is it going to be? Where do you want it?
So it's going on the bicep area. I just pointed with my microphone. So I'm working on my arm. And I think it's going to be bigger than I think most of them.
Wow. So you have a sleeve moment now on that left arm.
Yeah. Which
Nice.
is so unexpected. When I first like getting tattooed, I was like, no, like I'm only going to get small ones. They're only going to be black and white. I'm not going to get anything too big. And hop forward almost 5 years later, and it's like, no, didn't work out. There's obviously like such a stigma around tattoos, and like, you know, like a lot of the older generations are like, well, if you get tattoos, you're not going to have a job. And like all that kind of deal. And I think it was kind of like, there was definitely a moment when I got my first like visible, bigger tattoo. It was the little lady head that I have on my forearm. I had to go through like basically a mental process of, I am getting a tattoo. I'm getting a very visible tattoo. And it's even really not even that visible. I can cover it very easily if I wanted to. But for me to be like, I'm getting a tattoo that's going to be mostly visible, how is this going to affect my life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I wish it wasn't that way. And to be honest, it really isn't. But I think especially with us being in entertainment as well, there's also like an extra little bit, because there are people who just, you'll walk into an audition and they will basically tell you to turn around and walk out the door because they don't want anyone with tattoos, you know? It's just a commitment to, I don't know, like knowing that I'm permanently marking something on my body, something that's artistic, something that will always be there. And I think that's really cool. And I think that's why I get them in the first place, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like people are so much more loose about it now when it comes to performers, because it's not like they used to get mad, at least the company that we used to work for, like men's hairstyles were very specific and like piercings and all that. Like it was so intense. Like you weren't allowed to wear crazy nail polish. And depending on the ship, I think it's relaxed quite a bit just because of the way that like the brand and like showbiz in general is going, which is nice because it's nice to be a regular person able to express yourself and not just like an employee of somewhere.
Yeah, totally. And I there's like still moments where I'm like, I think about walking into an audition, or I think about like doing something and being like, is me having tattoos going to affect this in any way? And I am not calling myself tattooed like in any way whatsoever, like heavily tattooed, because I still don't really think that I am. But I definitely think that I have visible tattoos, and I know that that will affect how people perceive me. There's like, I've been at work and people have walked up to me and been like, I don't know why you do that to your body. And I'm like, did I ask you? Did I invite? What about my face and my words invited you to say that to me?
It's aggressive.
Isn't it? I was like, and like, it's not even someone that I've talked to before or someone that I've had a conversation with, like fully just people walking up to me.
That is one of my biggest pet peeves in my entire life are people that give you advice when you don't ask for it. I didn't ask you to come up to me and tell me that you think that I walk heavy, which is what a man said to me at the store the other day, and I lost my mind.
Why do people feel like they have, who entitled them enough for them to think in their own heads, I don't like that, number one. And number two, then having the to walk up to someone and go, I'm going to express that opinion directly to you when you didn't ask me.
Yep. He walked up to me. He was like, can I ask you a question? And I should have known. Like, from now on, if somebody comes up to me and they go, can I offer you some advice? You know what I'm going to say? No. Thank you for asking. You can't, because I don't want it. But he was like, oh, can I ask you a question? And I was at work, so I was like, most of the time when people ask me that, it's like, where's the bathroom? Like, do you guys have chili? Like, yes, go ahead, ask me anything. And he was like, why do you walk so heavy? And I was like, which again, my mom has told me before that I walk heel first. So it wasn't new information, but also we were busy as fuck that day. And I was literally running everywhere all around. And I was like, that's just the way that I walk. And he was like, yeah, but I can't, like, it must be really hard on your back. Like, they can't be good for you. And I was like, you know what? Actually, I am a professional dancer. So I think that I have earned the right to walk whatever way that I would like to walk. And I said that to him. And he was like, well, okay, yeah, but, and I was like, that'll be 1873. Thank you so much. Get out of my face now. I'm done with this conversation, you douchebag.
Rude.
Something about my face apparently makes people think that I really care about their opinions about me. And let me tell you something, I don't.
He asked, I don't think that's very good for you, and you should have responded, you know what's not very good for me? You.
This conversation.
This conversation.
So what did you say when they walked up to you and were so absolutely rude to your face?
I mean, I definitely like took like a moment, and the woman definitely like registered that either she wasn't supposed to say it or she didn't realize that it would have that effect on me. Like that I would just be like, like I would just be like, oh, thank you. I was like, okay. And she was like, I just thought I would tell you. And I was like, have a good day. Like, how am I supposed to respond in that situation? You don't even know how to respond. I feel like in like that situation, I would want to like have that movie moment of like turning around and being like, you know what? Like, I'm all that.
You work on commission, right?
Like but when you're affronted in that, and like I'm used to people staring at me. I've always been used to people staring at me. And when I was 14, 15, I started wearing more women's clothing. I wore shorter shorts. I like wore things that like definitely like made me stand out. I'm used to people looking at me, but I'm not very used to people like coming up to me and expressing that opinion. Either they scream it from across the street or they don't tell me at all. Like, and that's what I'm used to. And I'm never used to people like confronting me. And if you know me, I am not a confrontational person whatsoever. Like,
no, you're not.
I have issues with confrontation. And for her to like turn around and say that to me, I just like, I don't know.
You know what though? Like, good for you for handling it the way that you did, because I think there's a lot to be said for teaching people how their words and actions affect others. And it's important to let people know how exactly what I just said, how they affect other people, because if they just go around in their lives saying whatever the fuck they want and people are polite about it and they're like, well, that was really rude, but I'm not going to tell her it's rude, then she'll never know that it's rude, you know? So I think good for you for even subtly being like, you're a bitch.
Oh, I wish I could. And also, like, I think I kind of, people, especially of a different generation, think that, like, tattoos are, like, for thugs and criminals. And I don't want to have to, like, have that person walk away and for that stigma to be continued if I was rude or if I was angry. And, like, I shouldn't have to feel that way, and I shouldn't have to act that way because someone else acted in a way that wasn't conducive to a healthy environment. But I don't know, it just makes me like once again think, who the fuck do you think you are? Basically, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I feel that almost daily. I cannot stop touching my hair because I washed it finally, and so I just keep looking at myself and I'm like, fuck yes, you did it, good job.
I saw that you got your last microneedling and then proceeded to hit yourself on the face with a car door.
Joey, I can't even talk about it. I'm so mad. And like, I'm scared that I'm going to have a scar. The scab just like fell off, which is like a gross thing to say. That's a gross thing to say. But
you never audibly said that?
There's a tiny little bump and it's a little bit bruised, but you can't really tell when I have makeup on. But there's like a little line, and I'm really hoping it doesn't scar because my skin, I can't wait for you to see me in person. It's so much better.
I'm sure I will.
It makes me so happy. And I went and she touched up my Botox because one side of my forehead was a little bit stronger than the other side. So I did, one eyebrow was like going up a little bit higher. And she was like, yeah, that's the definition of Spock brow. Sick. So she fixed that. So now they're even Steven again. So yeah, I had a lot done, and then I proceeded to go and ruin it.
You're like, that's not what I wanted to hear today, but okay.
No, I was like, because you know how you stare at your face? So I was like kind of evaluating the freezing process of this Botox, and I was like, I think one of my eyebrows always slightly went higher than the other, but then I was like, it's kind of super noticeable now. But I don't know if I'm imagining it or is it actually happening to me. So I'm so glad I was able to go in and get like a follow-up. And she was like, no, 100%. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, good. And then also, I smashed it.
Yeah, and then you smashed the door on it. It's also like that thing of like, you don't notice change when you're like right in the middle of it. When you step away from it for however long and you come back to it, you're like, oh, I see a difference. But when you're in the middle of it and you see it every day and transitioning every day, you don't really notice it all that often.
Yes.
So I guess going to whoever does your Botox probably looked at you and went, oh, no, I do see a difference.
You're not.
But I do like
that.
even on the Zoom chat video screen. That was a process of me getting to that word, screen.
Zoom chat video screen time.
Your skin looks radiant.
Thank you. I feel radiant.
You should.
I really always love how you compliment me, which is a stupid thing to say. But like, you make me feel so good about myself all the time. So I thank you for that because I appreciate you. I hope that I also make you feel good about yourself because I don't want this to be a one-sided love to shame party. Joey's good too.
So on a more serious note, I know, not too serious, but I think it's important to talk about like not only the best things in our lives, but also some of like the shitty times in our lives. Mm-hmm. I think I've been going through imposter syndrome quite a lot. You know,
here, like in the right now times?
Yeah, like in the past week or so.
Oh, okay.
I think just in general, it's been really, I don't know. I just deal with, I think, a lot of like imposter syndrome and maybe not having self-confidence in the way that I should. Like I say, like I perceive, and I am very confident in myself and I do know who I am. Do deal with like, I don't know, a bit of anxiety, a bit of stress. And I deal a lot with like imposter syndrome, which is like, when you doubt who I say, like, oh, like, I'm a drag queen, and I then, in my own head, revert back and say, well, you don't do this, and you don't do that, so do you have any right calling yourself that, you know?
Yep.
And I think with the whole coronavirus, it's just heightened it, like, by a million, just because all of these opportunities that would then precede me to move in a direction that would confirm the things that I'm doing, I'm basically just sitting. You know? Mm-hmm. And it's really difficult. And I think I feel it a lot, especially with this new journey into sewing and me saying I want to go to fashion school, especially like that, because I can't move in any of the step that I need to move in. Or, I don't know, even just like self-doubt about like when I mess something up, I go, well, you have no right calling yourself that, you know? You have no right to say that you make clothes because you fuck something up, you know?
Yeah.
When I'm sitting here wearing something that I made and that I think
it's super
looks good.
cute, by the way.
One more time?
It is. Oh yeah, this is why I don't compliment you. No, it is. Is it a jumpsuit or? Oh, it is a jumpsuit. You flashed me a knee at like just the right time.
It's basically the cow jumpsuit, but I made it in peppers.
I love that. That's like a Cinco de Mayo staple.
It is. I messed it up though because the peppers are upside down, but I don't think you really notice it all that much.
I didn't notice it at all.
But it's like dealing just with, you know, the one thing that I really haven't felt it that's been such a new thing in my life is us doing this podcast.
Okay, that's so weird because I was about to say I feel like a little bit of imposter syndrome when promoting this podcast. Not when we're doing it because it's just like us chatting shit all the time, but especially when we were like launching, I was like, what makes me think that I'm interesting enough that people will want to listen to me talk shit, you know? Yeah. Like about my opinions and my experiences and stuff. Like that's probably the most recent time that I've felt like an imposter. Because I mean, putting yourself out there is never easy anyway. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm so glad that you're like so confident in us. I am too. I am too. I just like that's when I feel it.
I know that like I do good things. I just have to sometimes be more confident. But it's just something that like I don't know that I deal with, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think too a lot of that is like when we were talking about fear in our fear of moving episode, it's like if you sit down and you think about the concrete things that you know to be true, like I make clothes that I can wear and I get compliments on them. And like people ask me for makeup advice or like my opinion on things and like things like that. I think that might help because it's using evidence to like prove yourself wrong. That makes sense.
No, that's an awesome way to think about it. I've never even like thought about that. I guess I mean, obviously we talked about it, but like, I guess I never applied it to that. My mind didn't go that way, but that's so true. Like sometimes you can't trust your own brain. And so you have to trust what other people say to prove yourself wrong and to say, hold up a minute, take a step back and think about this in another way, you know?
Yeah. I think for me, it's a fine line of not being able to trust my worst fears about myself. And then also at the same time, I'm like, but however you feel, that's valid. And I just have to pick and choose when I believe which one because they're kind of contradicting.
It's so difficult having a God complex and a shitty self-esteem.
Shall I bring it back up to the surface just for a second?
Back up to the surface.
I have been okay. So one of my like favorite things, and this is also using evidence to kind of contradict my fears about putting myself out there and like this podcast and like what gives me the right kind of thing. And that's the like feedback and the specifically like the DMs and the emails that we've gotten to our podcast accounts and like people telling us like their personal stories and like even just like funny parts of episodes, and I'll get like a little message and people will like quote something back to me like no job, no food, no bed, no roof.
Roof?
Yeah. Still funny. But yeah, that
the
just
haiku of being poor.
The haiku of being poor. It just makes me feel so happy. And like one of my friends, she emailed us and she was mentioning like all of the kind of cultural differences that she had to learn just from moving from one town in New Hampshire and then moving to Washington. Like the mailboxes are different. And like it was a learning curve to figure out around here when you give directions, it's like using trees as landmarks instead of street signs because that's just how it is. And it was so funny, like, because I've lived here for so long that I don't think about the fact that, like, we have a specific type of mailbox. Like, nobody puts their mailbox attached to their house because everyone lives, I mean, you've been here, everybody lives in the middle of nowhere. So I've loved just, like, being able to hear those stories and experience that. And so if you're into it, send us an email. And, like, even just little things like that, they make my whole day, and I know they make your day too. So yeah,
they
really
do.
That.
Receiving emails has to be one of the most exciting things, and I think that's so unexpected from when we began. Like, yeah. I didn't realize how excited I would get over emails, but something about them seems so official. For someone to sit down and to write an email and to really put the time and effort to knowing that we're going to read it, it's just really, it's so reaffirming, and it's so sweet, and it does make our day. I know that for sure.
Don't tell me what to do. If you're playing the Duchesne catchphrase drinking game, finish your drink.
Yes. I remember because there was one time, and it's the only time, and there's a reason it was the only time, that we were in a tech run, and it was right before, like, we went backstage to get ready for, like, the tech run, and you had a headphone, and I just tapped you, I, like, poked you, and I swear to God, I saw hell in her eyes because her being poked, unknowingly, I didn't know it, but unknowingly her being poked is, I think, one of your biggest pet peeves, if not.
It is. Probably, yeah, more than people giving me advice that I don't want. I know how it started, but I don't know why it gives me such a visceral reaction. But it really does. Like, I cannot, it literally, like, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. Heebie-jeebies is a fun thing to say.
And to this day, I will never, ever come close to what even can be interpreted as a poke.
It's the single pressure point. It's the single pressure point for me. I hate it. I hate it so much. And also I feel like, why is poking a thing? It's unnecessary. Don't. If you want my attention, learn my name. That's probably why people poke me so much, is because they don't know how to say
They don't know how to say your name. Oh.
Don't poke me. Don't do it. Now everybody's gonna just message me horror stories of that time they poked me, and it was only once, and they never did it again.
Ever again.
I hate it.
Ever again.
It's so. Ugh. What's your pet peeve? Let's stop talking shit about me. What do you like? Not like.
Let me think about it. I don't know. Being late is absolutely like something that grinds my gears to no end.
When other people are late?
Yes. Well, both. Me being late and other people being late when I am with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It enrages me like nothing else, because you think that I'm going to arrive late. You think that my time isn't worth as much as your time. Like, when I was DC, when I was dance captain, and I sat everybody down on my first day, I said, very first thing out of my mouth, I said, as your dance captain, you are not to be late. You show up when someone says 2 o'clock. You show up at 1:50 so that you're ready at 2 o'clock. That doesn't mean make your way with your little coffee, with everything else showing up at 2 o'clock. That means you are sat down with your shoes on, ready to go, 2 o'clock. Ooh, my gosh, I cannot stand it. I cannot stand it. That's probably my number one pet peeve, is being late. And like for myself, like I'll show up somewhere half an hour before I need to be there just to make sure that I'm not late. And I judge people for being late. I'm sorry, I do. I'm not going to hide it. Like, if you're late, I'm going to say, okay, so that's what you think. All right.
What I love about Ross, he's so like, not set in his ways, but like he's so self-assured. Like he has a standard for how he is treated, and he doesn't
settle.
Like, yeah, he doesn't. Exactly. Yeah, he doesn't settle for anybody, regardless. And like he's like, okay, you can do that once, and never again. And like it's so inspiring, I think, to be around people like that. I think I try and surround myself with people like that. Alex is another person for me who is she will not accept being treated any less than she thinks that she deserves. And I think that's a really admirable quality to have in a person.
It absolutely is. And I am not one of those people, so I don't know why you surround yourself with me.
Because you compliment me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Do you know why I surround myself with you? Because you have one of the biggest hearts of like anyone I've ever met. And you care. You care about everything so authentically and so like truly. And that is equally inspiring.
So I'm going to call this our milestone episode, because it is episode number 7.
Is this episode 7? I didn't even think about that.
We talked about it, and we say that, like, you said a certain number of people don't make it past episode number 7, and I feel like we're only getting started.
Agreed.
So I'm going to call this our milestone episode because, first of all, not only have we made it, but we are thriving, and we have ideas coming out of places I didn't even know ideas could come out of.
I could not agree more. Okay, you guys, that was our milestone episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, please make sure you rate and follow, subscribe, do all the things that you have to do so that you don't miss any new episodes coming out. We drop a new episode every single Tuesday. Also, make sure that you follow us on our social media. Joey, what's our Twitter?
Our Twitter is New to the City. That is CITEA. Once again, TEA. You know by now.
Also, make sure that you follow us on all of our other social media. That's Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. All of that is New to the City Podcast. Again, that's CITEA. And if you want to get in touch with us, tell us a little story, let us know what you think, then make sure that you email us at newtothecitypodcast@gmail.com. That is CITEA.
Alrighty, then we will see you on our next one. Bye.
Bye.